asked by the City of Santa Fe to serve as neutral facilitator for this community meeting regarding the street reformer or busker ordinance. Just a little rundown about what's going to happen this evening. I'm going to ask the counselors to say a few words. I want to emphasize this is not a council meeting. There are not going to be any decisions made tonight. The counselors are here to listen, and they've asked me to facilitate so that they can focus on listening, with the exception of Councilor Maestas, who's going to operate some complicated timing device. So I'll have their introductory remarks, and then I'm going to ask Assistant City Attorney Zach Chandler to provide a brief overview of the current ordinance and also the currently proposed ordinance. Then a very brief presentation by representatives of the Santa Fe Buskers Alliance. If you haven't already, there's a handout in the back on the position paper from the Buskers Alliance. Following that, there'll be public comment. Some people have already signed up. And ask people to come up and speak for 2 minutes. And then toward the end of this meeting, and we'd like to be out of here by no later than 8:30, we'll try to summarize the areas of general agreement. Assistant City Attorney Chandler has prepared a handout so that you can indicate some of your thoughts about the elements of the ordinance as closing remarks from the counselors, and I'll go home. I want to frame this conversation. My understanding is what the council is looking for is as much consensus as possible, with a focus on the plaza and the plaza community, which includes the art and food vendors, the street performers, the merchants, Santa Fe citizens and visitors. Everybody. You're looking for an ordinance that's going to be workable and enforceable. A couple of words about what is consensus. Consensus is not necessarily unanimity, not 100%. An organization called New Mexico First that conducts town halls across the state on a variety of public issues suggests that consensus on a single alternative is attained when each participant can say, I believe you understand my point of view. I believe I understand your point of view. And whether or not I agree with this alternative or prefer this decision, I support it, I can live with it, because it was arrived at openly and fairly, and is the best alternative for us at this time. Okay? So that's the target. And I'd ask you to think, as you're speaking, presenting issues, or as you're filling out the form, the complaints are pretty clear and actually pretty much shared. So when you speak, when you think, focus on what's going to work. What would you prefer? What do you think is going to support the community in a positive fashion, as well as, when necessary, for the police department, what's going to be enforceable? Somebody circling? Okay. So before we move on, I would like Councilors Maestas, Lindell, and Trujillo to frame this conversation.
Thank you, Philip. Well, Philip's going to frame the conversation. The reason why we're here is, as you all recall, we do have an existing ordinance on the books. And about 2 weeks ago, we convened a meeting of the City Council to talk about some proposed amendments. But the proposed amendments weren't the subject of the discussion. The process leading up to that meeting was the issue, and it was the process. And for me, I don't want the process to be the issue. I want to make sure that the whole dialogue is inclusive of everyone that has a stake in ensuring that we have a plaza that we can all be proud of, that we can all enjoy. And we don't want to divide our community, we want to unite our community. So that's my perspective, to ensure that we include as many iterations, as many steps in this democratic process to ensure that everyone's heard and that we identify our positions of difference. And that's why we don't want to make this a formal council meeting. We're simply going to observe here. I want you to participate to the fullest extent. Be aware, be involved, and make your sentiments known, and contribute to the dialogue. And hopefully we can find consensus on all the issues, but that may not be possible. So I want you to be open-minded. I want you to participate and make your position known. There could be some issues that still require some adjustment. And I've talked to Philip about that, and if we have to have one more small step, maybe not necessarily a formal public meeting such as this one, we'll have that. But I want to let you know that when we deferred action on the proposed amendments for this ordinance, we made it a date-specific deadline to take action on it, and that's April 30th. So that is our consensus among the governing bodies to compile all these amendments, and my hope is that those proposed amendments will represent consensus among all of you, all the stakeholders at the plaza. So in closing, I want to welcome you for coming, and I'm sure this is going to be a great public meeting. Thank you for coming, and I want to invite Councilor Lindell, which the plaza lies in her district, and they're here because they're also co-sponsoring the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. My name is Signe Lindell. I am the Councilor for District 1, and I think that Councilor Myestis has summed up the work that we need to do here tonight. Thank you for coming, and Philip said that we needed to be out of here by 8:30, so I'm going to be a member of the Talk Less, Say More Club right now, and pass the microphone on to Councilor Trujillo, and I'm ready for us to get down to work. We've got a lot of work to do on this.
Just want to thank all of you for attending tonight's meeting. As Councilor Meisner said, I hope this meeting we come to a consensus. We're able to come back to the governing body with amendments to help us write a good busking ordinance. So let's start.
Thank you, Councilor. So, to prepare for the discussion, I've asked Assistant City Attorney Zach Chandler to provide us with a very brief overview of the current ordinance and some changes in the currently proposed ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Zach Chandler from the City Attorney's Office. There is a current ordinance on the books right now regarding street performers that has 5 major points. Street performer must have a license. Number 2, you can't perform on private property without permission. 3, must perform at least 150 feet away and follow the noise ordinances. Number 4, move every 2 hours. 5, violations could result in criminal penalties, which means fines and jail, or civil penalties, which means revocation of your license. That's the current code right now that exists. The proposed ordinance has 4 main changes to this current ordinance. Change number 1, street performers will need to display their license. 2, street performers' sound level cannot be plainly audible from 100 feet. 3, street performers cannot use public power sources or portable generators. 4, the finance director, not the city council's finance committee, can take action against your license. Those are the 4 major changes. There was one additional recommendation from the city council's public safety committee. 5, street performers cannot perform within 20 feet from an entrance to a building. The city council can do nothing. They can keep with the status quo. The city council can adopt the first 4 changes, and that's it. That's it with this bill. Or the city council can adopt that 5th change, or not. Or the city council could adopt some other amendments where there might be near uniform consensus. For example, perhaps repealing the 30-day license and just leaving the 1-year license. That's it. Or the city council could go for the whole enchilada with your input and rewrite the guts of the ordinance regarding the regulations and the discussion about criminal and license enforcement. Those are the options going forward. At least there's probably many.
You said 150 feet away, but from what? You said they need to be 150 feet away from each other, or?
The sound has, you can't be able to hear.
No, but before that, you said.
Let me just be precise. The current code right now, no changes, says street performers shall stay at least 150 feet away from other street performers.
From other street, I got you. Okay.
I'm going to keep track of some of the topics. The meeting is being recorded and transcribed. This is an official City of Santa Fe meeting. A couple of things about this ordinance. The plaza is a designated National Historic Landmark. It's a magnet for local citizens, for Santa Feans, New Mexicans, visitors from all over the globe. In the existing ordinance, it starts, street performers enhance the character of the city of Santa Fe and have the right to perform on public property. The current ordinance has been in place for a number of years and now seems to be inadequate in several areas. And so former Councilor Chris Calvert proposed some revisions. With all the divergent interests involved, performers, vendors, merchants, visitors, tourists, it's not likely that a perfect, so-called perfect ordinance can be created that satisfies everybody. Instead, I would encourage you to look for areas of agreement on important issues. And one of the questions is it perfect? Can you live with it? Is it okay? Enforcement is important. The terms of the ordinance need to be clear enough and provide guidance for Santa Fe Police Department. It seems, in my conversations with various parties, that there are some areas of general agreement that there's a need to develop effective and enforceable rules for maximum volume. Big question, what is maximum and how do you measure that? That's a challenge. Developing effective and enforceable rules for appropriate locations, schedules, and maximum density
as you were saying. Those buskers are too loud.
Violation.
Is this one? Everybody's ears are cleaned out now, all the wax is gone. In addition to those rules, I think there's general agreement that the 30-day $10 permit should be eliminated. And also that issues of appropriate behavior may be already addressed in other ordinances. So there's some conversation there, and we'll be hearing a little bit later from Santa Fe Police Department. So, with that, I'd like for George Robinson to come up. He's prepared a brief presentation from the perspective of the Santa Fe Buskers Alliance. Use the lectern of this if you wish.
needs to speak into the microphone for the recording. This one.
Thanks, Philip. I'm George Robinson. Thank you, counselors. Thank you, everybody that came, buskers, vendors, merchants, and participants. I'm standing up here for the Santa Fe Buskers Alliance. It's a group founded several years ago by Michael Collins, sitting right here. We're here to participate and come to agreement and build community on the plaza with the vendors, with the merchants, with the buskers, provide ways that that community can feel more comfortable with the situation on the plaza with the vendors. I guess, that's our main objective. And we want to work together. We want to build good relationships. We want to bring everybody together in agreement. We want things to work well. I'm not good public speaker, so I'm kind of stuttering here. But basically, we've got like 5 or 6 areas of problems down here somewhere. And they're enumerated in those matrices that you all have. And, basically, it's volume. I think sorry. It's the volume levels, the busker density, too many buskers, proximity to stores and vendors, permission to busk on private property, competition with vendors, enforcement of the busker ordinance, and of course development of a set of guidelines for buskers by the combined efforts of all of us. So those are the general areas that we saw, issues with, and that's where we want to come together and get agreement. Busking provides vitality to the community and varied forms of expression. And when I busk for the joy of it. I busk to see the reaction of the people that are passing by. I've seen people dance. I've seen people hold hands. I've seen people cry. I've seen children get just totally fascinated by the music and the instruments. And so it lends a lot to say, gives a lot to Santa Fe. And also, busking is one of the activities that will bring locals to the plaza. So, locals aren't always a big part of the plaza, and our busking will bring them down there. And with the mayor's new proposals, I think the plaza's going to become a more vital place. So I don't want to take up any more time. I want to stress that we want to cooperate, we want to come to good terms, and we want to live together as good neighbors and community partners. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Did you want to say something?
So now we'd like to hear from all of you. There is a sign-up sheet, so this will look kind of like a council meeting. Line up, please sign up so we have a record of who's speaking. And when you come up, what will be helpful will be to say what issue or issues are you addressing. We want to be really clear. We want to help the councilors listen more clearly. We want to help all of you listen more clearly. And Councilor Maestas is going to watch that 2-minute time limit. Okay? So first, and please speak into the microphone.
My name is Cliff Mills. I'm a permanent, full-time artist on the plaza. I've been there for almost 20 years. I sit on the west side of the plaza, right across from the bank. The buskers have been there, for years. And frankly, I like them. I've gotten along just fine with them. I don't have any problems. I like the ordinance that Councilor Culver put together. I'm there every day, and I work hard at my art, and they work hard at their art. And I appreciate the ability to share our art form. And as I say, I've never had any problems. One time, one guy was a little bit too loud. We asked him if he'd turn it down. He said, sure. I enjoy when Antonio comes and plays the Mexican harp, when Petra plays classical guitar. These are fine musicians. We're sharing our art forms with the community. And I think this has been overblown. I think it's been ridiculous. I think it could have been settled. It was right in the first place. But certain interests had to blow it out of proportion and make it into something that it's not. Anyway, thanks a lot, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you very much.
My name is Hushain Yudin. I am owner of the Hushain's Gallery of in Santa Fe for 24 years. And to start with, since this gentleman said he's very proud of the plaza, I want you to look at this, and if that makes you proud, then I will give you all of the things. I'm embarrassed to walk in downtown, and you see the broken streets, dirty places, cigarette butts, garbage everywhere. The trash can just filthier than trash itself, and people walking in, and they're looking at that thing. That's supposed to be the most traveled place in the city of Santa Fe. We spend millions of dollars by the riverside, which nobody walk and nobody pay attention to downtown that need to be the most beautiful place in the city of Santa Fe. I'm sick of seeing it every single day I walk. I have to stop by the galleries, by the store, by the shop, and please clean up in front of you. Nobody would give a damn, and the city has nothing to do with it. They just become once a week, they do the half-assed job cleaning the thing, even when the machine come and clean the street, they push all of the cigarette against the sidewalk. And that city is filthy, number one. Number two, about the musician. I travel all over the world, from Paris to Rome to, if you go to 2nd Street in Los Angeles, or if you go to San Francisco or go by San River in Paris, there are musicians everywhere. A lot of people that you are giving the license to, they are not a musician, they are a noise maker. But there are few people in this town that they play beautiful music. There is a guitar player lady that she is a concert musician, and she sees everybody laughing. There's a couple of guitar players here and a singer that they sit in front of my business. I know the reaction of the people to it. They love it. They want to play. This is the part of the beauty of our city, that the other people have variety of the things and enjoy the city, not to make a restriction on it. You can sit here, you cannot sit there. I have a private place and I'm going to permit them to sit my place if that's my right. But you should not stop them. You should stop the vendor, the people that they come with their garbage, with the backpack, the beggars, and the homeless that they come sit there and mess up the place, and the people walking in with the dirty backpackers and things like that. We need to do that. The other thing, the noise. These motorcycle people come in and disturbing the people with this super noise. We need to stop them, and I understood you want to stop the traffic in Plaza. I command you for you if you do that.
Thank you.
Michael Combs, street performer.
Would you spell your last name?
COMBS, J. Michael Combs. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful that we were able to set this back a month, because during this month, at least 4 meetings have happened. It doesn't mean that everybody's lovey-dovey and French kissing yet, but we recognize each other now by the face, by the names. We're starting to know what the issues are. People have had a chance to vent. There's no sense in demonizing one another. The levels of hurt feelings and hostility may not all be mended in a month. But there's 3 things I want to say. One is just the word cherish. You know, we could all remember that people who are working there, and all of us, we cherish this town. This is where our children grow up. This is where our elders grow old, and this is a place that we share. So if we can remember that, we want to cherish this place. And maybe some of you vendors don't feel cherished by the bus, because we hope we're going to move in that direction. And we're going to be able to smile and greet each other. And a community tightly woven like that can handle anything. Something comes at us, and it will. And we'll be able to get through it. Two things I want to say besides the 20 or 50 foot distance would basically make the downtown area unbuskable. Every 15 feet there's a door. So that's something that I feel is going to be a real problem. Hope we don't go that way. The third thing is, I think that a stable police presence downtown, this is something I've spoken to the vendors, and I think we all agree that it's such a complex environment that when you have rotating people from the police department coming through, we're reinventing the alphabet. And so if we can, remember when Cecil was there, and if we can have a more stable, small group of police officers who get to know the issues and the names, and I think that will go a long ways towards resolving this.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ben Chavez. I've been a plaza vendor now for 30 years. I started vending on the plaza, making my jewelry in 1984. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about tonight, I'm sure I've already said it once before, but I think it's just a place to start, and this is what I think, because I'm on the plaza 7 days a week. I see a lot of things on the plaza that has to do with buskers and other things, and I would like to just kind of read this. I'm sure people will agree with it, I'm sure people won't, but this is what I'd like to see. The number one thing is enforcement. I'm very concerned about enforcement. No matter how many rules we put out there, if there's no enforcement, it's really nothing. And I remember when Cecil was out there, Cecil would not allow anybody to have bikes through there, or hacky sack, or skateboards, or anything. It was just outlawed. Right now, it's pretty much a free-for-all. But as far as the buskers go, I would like to see that there's no CD sales at all on the plaza. It's merchandise. We pay a substantial amount to be on the plaza, plus we have liability insurance. If a busker wants to sell CDs, I would say that he should get a vendor's permit. This will lead to other merchandise being sold. Right now, some of the buskers out there are selling music instruments as well as CDs, and that's not what a busker's license is for. I think a busker's license should be more than $35. At $35, it comes out to 10 cents a day. They get to stay out there 12 hours a day if they want to and busk. I think there should be limited times for as far as that goes. Buskers should be required to carry liability insurance. Some buskers out there have a lot of equipment. They have cords. They have a guitar case in front of them. Vendors have to have liability insurance. In the 30 years I've been out there, there's never been even close to one incident of anybody falling over my table or anything, but everything's on a table. With buskers, you have guitar cases or whatever. I would like to see every busker that is going to be out there and sell CDs, that they get a CRS number, that they pay taxes just like a waitress or a waiter does on their tips. I think the most important thing is buskers should audition. I don't think that, I think a lot of people use a $35 license as a panhandling license that have no idea what they're doing. They're paying a $5 flute from the 5 and dime store with their hat out in the middle of everywhere, and even some of the buskers would like to panhandle just to get the license. Is my 2 minutes up? All right, so I had a lot more, but I'm sure somebody else will cover it.
Can I ask him a question? I hate to interrupt the process, but I'm new to this whole thing. I just like to go down and play my guitar, not to make money. And you seem to be a vendor. I think the bulk of people here are on the other side here. Could you tell me briefly why we're here, why everyone's here, why you are bothered by buskers?
I'm bothered by it because of the amplification. It's sometimes when people sit right behind me, I cannot hear my customers. And the biggest thing that I have with buskers is that some are professional and some are not. And the ones that aren't are extremely irritating, not only to me, to the vendors, but also to the customers that I have at my table.
Thank you, Ben.
My name is Dana Smith. I'm a musician here in town, and I circulated a petition and distributed it to all the council people, so I hope you had a chance to look it over. I'm going to read it briefly. It says, "This petition to exclude the proposed 20-foot permanent entrance to a building rule for the busking ordinance to be discussed at the April 10th meeting. That's today. Says, many merchants appreciate the unique shopping experience that live music brings to downtown Santa Fe. Public Safety Committee advanced a proposal to keep musicians 20 feet from the entrance to a building. We wish that this change to the busking ordinance be removed from the proposals. We feel this decision should be up to the discretion of the merchant. I had this petition signed by 10 merchants on San Francisco Street, as well as many people that work in town and other concerned citizens. And the reason I did this is I talked to Mr. Calvert about this situation, and he was confused on what was public and what was private property. And I talked to the code enforcement officer, Mike Purdy, and he clarified this issue for me. And with the rotation of police that we have down there, I'm afraid that this will be confusing, and it'll just make this matter very confusing. And also it'll drive all the buskers to the square, which will make that situation worse. So that being said, before we make all these sweeping reforms to the busking ordinance, I ask you to take a more reasoned approach and implement a few agreed upon changes and assess their effectiveness 6 months from now. I believe you're supposed to be doing that anyway. I think that we can all agree that we can eliminate the 30-day license. We can issue decibel meters to the downtown police patrol. The meters are designed to filter out background noise and would be an effective tool in controlling volume levels. And the city code is at 60 dBs max right now. That's what's written in the code. Increased police presence and enforcement of busker ordinance, as well as all governing laws. And, maybe have an ID with you to show that your name is the same name as what's on the busking license. It's my purpose in life to bring delight and joy to others through music. I feel blessed and honored to contribute to the vitality of our great city in this way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Louise Noretina. I work for the state of New Mexico about 2 blocks off the plaza. If you work for the state of New Mexico, you get a 15-minute break in the morning, 15-minute break in the evening, and you get an hour for lunch. I sit in an office all day long. I have a chance to walk down to the plaza to hear music. I don't know ordinances, I don't know codes. I know that when I walk down there and sit and listen to music, whether it's good or bad, I feel like I'm having a little holiday. It's just the best thing. I go back to see that again. I go down there, I sit, sounds good, music sounds bad. But there's people sitting around me. They may be from Connecticut, they may be from London. We talk. They ask me questions. I steer them to places that I like. They talk about the music. I think it's one of the best things that ever happened to a person who works in the downtown area. I would hate to see that change.
Thank you very much.
My name is Cody Miller. I'm a local photographer. I specialize basically in taking pictures of musicians. I love the music scene here in Santa Fe, and if we lose the buskers, we lose a lot of what we have. It's a great thing, yes. The biggest thing I see, I go out a lot, and I stop and listen to buskers in the evening and see some of these problems. One of the biggest problems that is fairly easily, I think, rectified is the problem with enforcement. Unfortunately, a lot of the officers downtown don't know anything about the ordinance. They have no idea. My friends who are the buskers are having to tell them what the rules are and why they can be and how loud they can be. It's education of our police force would help in some of the enforcement. Getting some of the guys who aren't buskers out, there are a lot of those people who show up and they're just panhandlers, sitting down in the corner, throwing their hat out, trying to make some money, where other guys are great musicians we have here in town, and and entertain our tourists and our residents and our workers, you can't pay for it what we get from the buskers. So I say, please don't, hurt the buskers. Yeah, let's make it so it's more enforceable. So it's something that everybody can agree with, and nobody has gray area that gets anybody in trouble, because it shouldn't have trouble along with music. It should be a great, fun event for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kai, and I'm glad that I can speak for a second. I want to speak about fire. I would like for the community to reconsider fire on Plaza. I know safety is an issue. I'm new to Santa Fe. I came here to go to the School of Art and Design, and I don't want to speak too much of myself. I see myself as the lower class starving artist. I had business in Mexico, in Michoacan, for 8 years, and after being comatose, I came to the country for support, for help in the community, couldn't get it. So I went back with $20, and that's why I learned Malabar. Malabar is an art where you use fire juggling. And people will go out of their way to go to see the fire, because if you perform consistently, which I did in the plaza in Oklahoma City, it's Highland Plaza for 3 years. People drive by, they take the kids, they say, hey Mom, let's go see the fire guy. So they come to the plaza, and they expect me to be there. Like any performer, if you're consistent and disciplined and diligent, and you're there, people the locals will come out of their homes on the weekend just to go see you perform. Photographers take fire trails, I've had them take fire trails and actually sell them on the web or whatever. So we have a smorgasbord here in Santa Fe. I've been here a week, but I learned very fast. We're all one organism, the good, bad, and ugly. We have all different classes. I'm in the lower class, but we're all together. And I just like to see everybody look at us as a whole, because we're promoting the arts, we're promoting the culture, and that's what I've done for the past 6 years with fire. I'm very professional on fire, and I've already looked at alternatives to do other things like glow instead of fire. But fire has a roar to it. It's more dangerous, and don't want the fire performers do not need to overpower other performers. So there's a balance and need for all of our arts. So I just like the community to reconsider that fire could be done in the plaza. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is John Dressman. I'm a shopkeeper on the plaza. Some people have talked about their history in Santa Fe. The first time I walked across the plaza by myself was 1952. Something that happens in Santa Fe that gets ignored are all the rules and regulations that we face. Someone spoke a few minutes ago about the idea of being 20 feet away from an entrance. I think that the ordinance has to be forward-looking. It has to say you can't be 20 feet from the entrance unless you have permission of that owner. And here's a reason why. There are two laws in Santa Fe, 23.16 and 23.18, that deal with sidewalks. If you are a renter, if you have a lease downtown with a sidewalk contiguous with the location, you either directly or indirectly pay for the repairs to the sidewalk. The people, the owners of the buildings, and sometimes that's the indirect thing, or my lease directly, I'm responsible under my lease for the sidewalk. We're responsible for the repair, the cleaning, and snow removal. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for rent. We should expect that our doorways and display windows not be blocked by someone soliciting funds for their busking, standing or sitting on the sidewalks for which we are responsible. We fix the broken bricks, clean up the dog dirt, and the syrup spilled on the 4th of July, and the bomb left at Fiesta. And so we expect some protection from the city.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Perigo. I'm a professional musician, and I'm also a busker here in Santa Fe. I live up in Pecos, New Mexico. And I think this has been way blown out of proportion, big time. And I think busking brings a great flavor to the city of Santa Fe, regardless of a few idiots here and there that play 3 chords all day long on the plaza, the same 3 chords over and over and over and over and over again, which, you know, that could be annoying after a while. But there's a lot of us real musicians out there that are doing our thing. And the people love us, the tourists love us. I actually played yesterday on the plaza. I had a great time. I believe I had 16 or 17 cameras on me from people. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous because I'm not used to speaking publicly. I'm just used to singing publicly.
Sing it.
Yeah. Let me sing you a song instead. But anyways, and there were people from Italy and Germany and Ireland. It was amazing. I talked with all these people afterwards, and they were just wonderful people, and they loved the music. And I think that as the Buskers Alliance, we can really work with the vendors to clear up this problem that we have with the amplification. You know, if we get people to crank it down a little bit, you know what I mean, and work with everybody. You know, I really like to see everybody work together instead of against each other, you know, because I think it's been way blown out of proportion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm George Robinson again. I'll take up less than my 2 minutes and Philip will flip back the page to those proposed changes. Okay, so, you know, the original proposed changes in Mr. Calvert's bill, they got somehow conflated with 15 to 17 other requests, which made the bill almost impossible to process at the last meeting. This is my personal opinion. I'm not representing the Buskers Alliance at this point, but I'm thinking that maybe we can go back to this bill as it is. The only thing I would change in there is the way the violations are enforced, because I believe that there should be no criminal violation, just as no criminal violation for operating a business, there should be no criminal violation for busking. All the violations that are necessary to enforce anything, or removal of anybody on the plaza, or arrest and citation, or, you know, trial and jail and fine for anybody in the plaza are already covered by all of the laws we have today. So the busking ordinance should include some good mechanisms to enforce the license and the ability to carry the license, and all other kind of laws should be left out of it. At one point, you know, when an officer comes in and says, you can call an officer and say, well, this guy's in violation. He'll say, well, you're in violation, so you have to change what you're doing. The man might refuse, or the woman might refuse, and the officer will say, well, now you're in violation of lawful order, so I'm going to ask you again. And so the guy might refuse, and at that point, other laws take effect. So I think there should be no criminal citations within, or criminal code within our code, because all of those codes already exist. But I think we should go back to that and start looking at that instead of all this big thing. But we still want to come to consensus, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Logan Van Loon. I'm a professional musician here in town. I haven't busked for a while, but I was planning on doing it this summer. I went to high school here, busked downtown. Now, I have to also say, I think the rule of not within 20 feet of any door makes almost every location within the downtown area unavailable. So that's not a good idea, in my opinion. I feel like we need to bring up the idea of Santa Fe is a town, is a city that prides itself on the arts. And I believe that music is part of the arts. And I certainly think that any kind of criminal offenses toward an artist in this town definitely does not show support for the arts. You know, and I would like to know more about what this rule about the finance director can take direct action. I would be very curious to get more information about what that means. Like everybody else, I'm a little nervous. I'm only used to singing in front of people too.
You do great.
But yeah, I really think we need to take a serious look also at the idea that there's a balance between order and creativity. And that with too much order, creativity can be squelched. So I just really invite you all to really consider this as you are considering putting more rules and more regulation on the artists of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. The note with regard to the finance director, in the current ordinance, there are administrative consequences for certain breaches of the ordinance, which currently are directed to the entire finance committee. To make that process more efficient, it was suggested that those administrative consequences be handled only by the finance director. So that's that little piece.
Hello, my name is Michael Chavez. I'm a professional working musician. I've been working for 20 years. I live here in Santa Fe. I've been currently busking to help income, and I've been harassed by police when I busk. And I've complied, and I've actually have a busking license, paid my $35. And I feel if everyone did their jobs, everything would work out. I think the way the rules, the way they're written, work as long as they're enforced. You know, if there's a violation or if a vendor has a problem, you take it up with the authorities, and they should come in and check if they've got a license. If they don't, then you're gone. You know, it's as simple as that. If you have your license and you repeatedly offended a vendor or something, then that's another issue. You can have a warning or a citation and go from there. And if they keep repeating that, I think there's just a few bad apples that are ruining it for everyone, because there are a lot of people that do comply, but the ones that don't can make it really awful. And the other issue I feel is it gets mixed up. Thank you. This isn't good, by the way. I think things get mixed up between panhandling, homeless, and musicians. And I think when the police come to a situation, they already see you as a homeless person almost. That's the way I feel. And I don't want to feel that way. You know, I'm not trying to say that there should be all these levels, but I mean, if you've got your license and you're complying, you should be left alone at some point. You know, as long as you're following all the rules, then we should be left alone, and we're not. That's what's really frightening me. And now we're bringing these new proposals and just making it to be a criminal thing. And here we've got a neighbor state, Denver, Colorado, that just legalized marijuana, and we're talking about making music illegal here in Santa Fe on the plaza. And also in Denver, Colorado, on 16th Street, every block they have an upright piano, and it's painted, and it's inviting to people to come and play and try to make a living. And that's, you know, we're just trying to make a living, and I just think we need to be real and just hear everybody's side and just follow the rules, you know? Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Pettis, and I live in my own business downtown. I'm hearing a lot about people who think they can, without any more enforcement, without any change in the ordinance, make it work. Human activity works better when there are rules and the rules are enforced and the rules are followed. This is a conversation that's been going on here for decades. The current law that has been rewritten was written with input from the police department, from a lot of people, including the buskers and performers. If a busker does not do what a police officer says when the busker is not complying with the regulation, the policeman right now doesn't have an ability to give that busker a warning, because there is no such thing as a warning unless you're in a vehicle. That's part of what this addresses. I have to follow rules. I have to have a business license. I had to pay $385 for a building license to put up a sign at my business and I could not have my business open employing my 9 employees until it was approved by the city. But that's okay, because I believe in following the law. And if I do not follow the law, something happens to me. It may not be criminal, unless that's the kind of law I break, but not being able to have my store open and employ my 9 employees because I didn't do the right thing involving zoning is something I accept, because that is the way it works, because laws are a good thing in my opinion. I don't think it is the same to enforce something or to criminalize it. I don't believe anyone is trying to criminalize music. I believe what people are trying to do is enforce appropriate behavior. And if this is going to make it better for the police, easier for the city employees to know what kind of licenses they can issue, so that someone is not issued a license for silent poetry, which someone currently has one of those. I just think I have to follow the law. Well, it's funny, but it's a little iffy. I have to follow the law. The law is enforced on me. I expect the law to be enforced, and I thank the city for changing the law.
Thank you.
My name is Gabriel Lima, and just a huge proponent of youth culture and culture in general in Santa Fe. It's obvious that music is important to everyone in this room, and I actually want to just talk about how encouraged I am that this forum is happening, that there's this responsible dialogue occurring, and I don't know how much I have to even offer to this, as much as about the spirit of it. I think we need to look at the particulars going on in this dialogue, and begin to talk particularly about some of these, like 20, I like that we keep coming back to 20-foot ordinance. I just want to refocus the conversation to the particular amendments in question, because we could talk about broad strokes forever, and I guess I just see value in that and keeping it. I see that people all across the board value music in Santa Fe, and think we should continue looking at these particulars of what's going on.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Francine DeGiorgio. I've lived here since 1999. I've worked on the plaza and as a bartender booking music here for 15 years. I also work with a group of collective conscious people who are very interested in making this world a better place by harmonizing and being able to communicate and find a solution. I definitely am for not making it criminal. And I think that a couple of people mentioned that if the officers were consistent, like Cecil was, I think that's a really, really awesome thing to have people who actually are enforcement, that work on the plaza, that get to know the people. I have to say, as a local, I've been coming down to the plaza for the 15 years that I've lived here just to get some kind of outside connection with people, to heal. My dad just died 2 weeks ago, and I came down here. There were 2 natives that were singing and playing the drum. It wasn't too loud. It was awesome. It really made my day. It was part of the healing experience. I really promote the arts in general and communication, so I feel like the fire on the plaza also could probably happen if it was on the little stage. I think that everybody can figure out a way to make this all happen for each other. I think that we should also have a bar for the kind of talent that's on the plaza. If people are complaining about people not being musically inclined, well then there maybe should be some limitations to who is able to play on the plaza. We don't want to hear the 3 chords going on and on and on. And the people that actually play in front of the stores actually have to clean up. I worked as a bartender and as a waitress. And when you're leaving, you should be able to clean up. If you're part of any kind of damages, you should be able to help them out. But there's a way that we can work with the people who have to pay a lot of money on the plaza, as I can absolutely understand where they're coming from. So I think that there's a way to make this all happen. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Veronica Griffiths, and I'm a performer and busker and musician all over the place here in town. I've been in Santa Fe for about 9 years now, and I'm really happy that this is happening, that this is like a community coming together, because in larger cities, I guess you don't really see that as much. I like that Santa Fe is such a smaller community that we actually can come up with these issues and focus on them and create solutions. So speaking of which, I just have a couple things. So the 20 feet restriction between buildings, I think that if you want to play right in front of someone's store, in front of someone's private property, you should ask them before you set up, make sure it's okay to be there. And if they didn't ask, and if they're setting up in front of your store, you can talk to them like a person and say that you can, if you prefer them to move, then tell them to move. And if they don't move, then that's whenever, like if they're being rude and they refuse to move, only then do you call the police or anything like that. But don't criminalize it, only mediate and move the person if they refuse to move. If that refusal continues and turns into a scene, maybe, revoke the license. And then if it continues without the license, maybe have a fine. And then if they don't pay the fine, at least to court. And if they don't show up to court, at least to a warrant. And that's how the law apparently works anyway. So I think changing that law would be a little over the top. So, sorry, just a couple more things. Moving every 2 hours, I think it would be great with the original plea that we have written down, which is having shifts. So every hour you should show up, if your slot is from 1 to 2, you show up at 1:30, you have a half an hour. And public power sources, they're public, regulate sound, not electricity. And if you plan on selling CDs, then add it into your contract when you get the license so it says that you're allowed to do it. But if you're trying to sell anything other than that, don't, because it's not in the contract. And yeah, I think busking is important to tourism in this town, and merchants make their money out of tourists too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lee Murphy. I am one of the 4 food vendors who have the privilege of being on the Plaza Santa Fe jury in. And I have turned in quite a bit of information to you all counselors. And tonight I would just simply like to say if I did everything that the buskers are asking for, I would simply lose that privilege and lose my license based on the contract that I have with the city and the privilege of being down there. But I would like to just let you listen to 3 recordings. They're very short, 30 seconds, 1 minute. The first one is on the plaza at our cart, and we have a busker who is amplified 50 feet from us. The second one is a busker 200 feet from us on the other side of the plaza who is not amplified. And the third one is a busker who is sitting right outside of Santa Fe Goldworks. I walk up, I record, and then I go inside Santa Fe Goldworks for you to hear what that sounds like. Of course I had it right there. Okay, so I'm sorry, what flavor did you want? I'm sorry, I just barely can hear you over this phone. I'll let you, May I?
Lee, can you describe? We'll take your word for it. Tell us what was the effect?
I have subscribed. This one is the front of, that first one was us at our car. This second one is the one that is in front of Santa Fe Goldberg. So I'm walking from my car, recording, going up to Santa Fe Goldberg. Just so you can hear what it sounds like me just walking up. I stay right there in front, and then I walk right inside their building. I don't think you can tell the difference. They're trying to conduct it. So they're right outside Santa Fe Goldberg. They're there almost every night. I can hear them now. My car is running the other way.
So I believe there's no question that some people play way too loud.
That is inside the store, and if I may, just I have a 30-second one that is 200 feet away. Is it permissible? 200 feet away, not amplified.
I mean,
just so
I
you
think
can see
the point
that
is
they're not amplified one.
And I think, people who've been on the plaza have experienced that.
Because I think it is important to...
And so the question becomes, again, what's the maximum allowable, and how do you measure it?
And enforcement.
So, let's... Thank you, Lee.
Good afternoon. My name is Martha Wright. I've been a plaza vendor for 35 years. I have rules to follow. I don't like them, but I have rules. I cannot have radios on the plaza. I can't have any kind of music. I can't display signs. I can't be there when there's arts and crafts shows. I have to move every time the city asks me to move because they're on the rules. I don't like them, but I have to follow them. I like being on the plaza. Plaza is a tourist place. We've never said we didn't agree with buskers. We've always liked buskers. We just don't like what they bring. First of all, I've had buskers in back of me smoking pot. How many times do I call the police? They should have records of how many times I call the police. I'm right on the stage. And the funny part, they don't pass over the cigarettes to me either. That's the funny part. They just smoke it themselves.
They're not sharing?
They're not sharing at all. Another thing is, when there is an event in the plaza, the balloon guy gets to stay there. I don't get to stay there. He sells balloons left and right. I don't get to stay there. I can only stay there if I pay for that time of being there. Another thing is we've had problems with buskers taking out guns at us. I called the police twice on that last year. There was one guy named Bobby, he had a gun, kept taking out the gun every time we called the cops. Now we have to put up with that. The buskers don't have to put up with that. We have to put up with that on the plaza. I pay enough money to be there. I pay every event. I pay every arts and crafts. I pay my license, my insurance, loading and unloading. I pay for everything. They don't even have to pay for loading and unloading. We have to pay for everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha.
Hello, my name is Michael Milton. My wife and I both work on the plaza. In the summertime, I'm there 10 hours a day, so I see a lot that goes on. I'd like to thank the buskers for coming. Most of you guys that are probably here that are buskers are not part of the problem. And so, You know, since I'm there 10 hours a day, I see the problem. And some of you say it's a few buskers. It's not, unfortunately, a few buskers. There are quite a few that come in and out of town, and they're just drifters. They come down here and get a Plaza permit to do that. I believe that the program needs to be regulated in some respect. It's a historic Plaza Square, for one thing. It's also a park, a city park. And if you look at places like New Orleans that regulates, they regulate buskers even, with limitations and curfews, even on Bourbon Street. Key West has stringent busker rules, even, you know, especially in the historic areas. Plaza's a limited area. It's roughly 160 feet by 220 feet, okay, that block is. So if you put one busker in the center on the monument, it's impossible to have another busker on the plaza, okay, with that 150 feet rule. You cannot do it, okay. And the other thing is, I've drawn a little map here, anybody can look at it that wants to, that basically shows where a lot of the buskers sit. One of the places in front of the bank, one of the places is on the monument, one of the places is next to the fajita stand, one of the places is on San Francisco Street, in front of the stores there, another place is across from where Packard's was, another place is on the opposite corner there from where the natives sit. So that's about 5 to 6 places where they typically are. That could be 150 feet apart if you're in any one of those spaces, okay? It's only maybe 120 feet. And the problem with that is, with our 100-foot rule, almost 150 feet, if it was 150 feet, which it's not, again, it's about 120 feet. So with the 100-foot rule, if you're saying, you know, can't be audible within 100 feet of where you're sitting, then you've got a 200-foot radius that is your space that you're playing to, okay? So what I'd like to say is basically that what you have, which we had 2 Sundays ago, I showed up and there was a train wreck. Okay, you had 5 buskers on the plaza, and with that audibility circle, they all just basically flash. There's too many people there, okay? So that's one thing. The other thing I'd like to say, just real quickly while I finish up here, is what is a busker's what is your immediate playing field? You know, who are you playing to? Are you playing to the whole plaza? I would say no, we have a venue for that. That's the, you know, the music nights, the bandstand, okay? So, you know, you're not playing to the whole plaza. Who you're playing to is that circle that's in your circle of influence there, you know, which we've defined it as 100 feet. I would say, no, that's too big. That's not acceptable. I would say, you know, if we have audibility, if you're amplified, you're gonna exceed that 100 feet easily. It's impossible if you're amplified, okay? And most of the buskers here, that'll affect some buskers. Most of the buskers here are excellent when they're not amplified, okay? I'd like to say that, but I'd just like to show real quick, if I can, what that circle would be. Okay, so if you have a 15-foot circle, let's see, that is 15 feet right here where Michael is. So that's 15 feet. So if you're sitting where the counselor is, that would be your circle of influence, okay? Now, there would be, again, a circle, so you would have all the way to 15 feet, which would be about the wall. If you have 25 feet, 25 feet is going to be about here. To me, that would be pretty significant for a busker. You know, that's a pretty good sized stage area right there. If you have 50 feet, this is 45 feet. Okay, that's 45 feet right there. So 50 feet would be about the window.
I want to speak up. When I did fire, I used only 10 or 15 feet with fire. I used no fire source, fire staff. If I wanted to move from here to there with fire, I had that freedom to go crazy with it, but I control it in one small space.
Right. But you have to apply the rules to all the buskers, because there are so many different types of busking. So you have to apply it to all of them. You can't just say, this one does it this way, this one does it another way. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nothing like a visual to know what's going on.
I'm always fine until I get home. Okay, first of all, I think we all understand that there is a problem, and you know, I think we all hear it. Problem is trying to solve it. So the rock throwing and the blame game, it's difficult. So what I did is I approached that gentleman over there, George Robinson, and I said, as a vendor, I thought he was on the floor. I said, as a vendor, I said, I'd like to come forward. I would like to come forward and try to resolve this as a community. Because if we don't do it as a community, the weakest link is, we need to keep it really tight on the plaza. Everything needs to run just smooth. So what I'd like to do is, I made notes this time, because last time was such a... First of all, I wanted to thank all the vendors that went to the meetings that we had. We had 2 private meetings during this past week. I wanted to thank the vendors that went and spoke up and made themselves heard. I wanted to thank the buskers that went, and they said, what they had to say and gave their input, and I appreciate that and respect all of that. Mr. Chandler took time from his, busy schedule and was there and took note. That's a great help. This gentleman over here in front came and mediated. Mr. Crump. And so, so I just wanted to thank all of the people that went. I wish more people would have gone. I think that it would have been, better if more people. Unfortunately, the people that are causing the problems are not the people that are in this room. So, I just think that it's unfortunate, but I would like to say that we do need an ordinance. It needs to be regulated and implemented. But I do take offense that everyone's throwing rocks at the police department, because the police department is undergoing a lot of changes right now, and it has had time changes, it has had schedule changes, we've had rotation of officers, we've had new officers coming in, old officers going out, and they're trying to get it together. And from what I understand is they're going to have a bike team going down and actually becoming familiar with the vendors. Yes. I hope this is correct information, because this is what I overheard with the vendors, and trying to make themselves more, visible and more known, so that the merchants and the vendors will be able to, have something going with the buskers also. The buskers need to step up and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, this is what I do, this is my license. I feel that, I need 50. I was asking for 50 feet from buskers, just because of the amplification problem and the noise problem, but perhaps we need a noise resolution in the city, and not only just, it's not just with buskers, perhaps we need a noise ordinance across the board for things that are going on. But, I just want, everybody just kind of needs to step up and say, take blame, or take the bull by the horns and say, yeah, I'm willing to work with you, I'm willing to get this done in an amicable way, and quit throwing rocks. And the officers are doing their best, and I wanted to thank the city for sending them down, because starting the 12th, from what I understand, they're going to be down there from 10 to 10 in the morning, and for me, that's awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Timothy DeVore. I'm from Southern California, Costa Mesa, and I've been here for a few weeks now, house sitting for a friend, and living here for a temporal amount of time. But anyway, I want to show my gratitude and appreciation to the general public. Despite the issues, I have not gotten this much support ever in my life as a musician, as an artist, and I'm told that I'm pretty good, and actually would deserve to have some amplification, because I have a hard time with volume. I sound a little better in tone when I'm not struggling to fight the noise. The noise of life that we've created for ourselves today on this planet. All the motors, all the engines, all of everything happening around us, There was a time when busking was louder naturally, and it was accepted, and we wanted it, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to speak for those who are so down in the dumps that they're not wanted around. How do you help a person who's homeless and dirty and stinks of their own fecal matter? You don't want to, do you? We don't believe that it's good. So I'd like to address the topic of economy, and the fact that we are still within one centralized economy here in this city. Everyone here is making money. The merchants, the people working in the city council and in politics, the officers, those folks, and the buskers. Everyone's making money, but it's obvious the class and level of money being made here, and there's an issue of responsibility. And yeah, you got some bad apples, you got some people who are hard to deal with, but guess what? You're going to have it everywhere. You're going to have drunks and bums in the streets, and then you have some kids like me who really appreciate what we have here and try to be as decent as possible. And so, gosh, thank you. Thank you.
My name is Emiliano Rich. I'm going to talk to you guys because all of them either agree with me or don't, and I don't really care about convincing them. But I'm from Santa Fe. I grew up here. I'm a musician. I've busked on the plaza in the past. I haven't done it this year, but last year I did it quite a bit. I think that there's the idea of having an ordinance and of updating the ordinance is a fantastic one. I think the reason that there was such an uproar from the busking community was very specific things in the ordinance, like the 20-foot rule for doorways, things like that. The big, that and of course the criminalization thing, all of these issues that we have that have been made over and over again, I think the things they are meant to address can be addressed with a larger consistency of enforcement. That was a suggestion that I heard pretty much as soon as I walked in here, and sadly I had to work until 6. But having officers on the plaza who are essentially members of that plaza community, just like the vendors and the buskers, and are informed mediators as opposed to just people who get called in when there is an issue, they'll be much more able to recognize, firstly, which buskers are actual musicians and are contributing something artistically to the area, and which ones are just transients who came into town and picked up a busking license for $35 and are just trying to move on to the next town. I think there will be having that would address so many issues that seem to develop just because everyone has their point of view, and it's very difficult when there's that encouragement for us to kind of get along. I don't have anything against any of the vendors on the plaza, and I'm pretty sure if we met under any other circumstances, they wouldn't have anything against me. But when we need somewhere to play. We can't. The 20-foot rule just doesn't make sense because that doesn't give us anywhere to play. If there was cars, the fact that there are, I don't know if this is happening or not, that there are cars on the plaza thing, that's actually happening. Okay, well, if it were to happen, it would eliminate the need for amplification watching, because a large part of the noise on the plaza is the cars driving by. If there were no cars on the plaza, there would be a lot more people walking around on the plaza, and human bodies are the best soundproofing there is. So that thing of putting in like a decibel limit or strictly enforced, how far away you can be heard rules, it becomes a situationally shifting thing where you can be just as loud on 2 different days, and if there's twice as many people, it's not as much of a nuisance. So having that enforcement present that's able to discern when something is actually a problem and when it's simply against the letter of the law but not bothering anyone, that is a very important thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. So.
I just want to thank everybody in this room for being here and giving the time and effort to address this, and I really, really hope we can come to a consensus that works well enough for everybody. Alicia Shaw. So I've lived in Santa Fe for almost 9 of my 27 years, which is a significant portion when you're young, and I've done a lot of things in this town, but one thing I've always done is I've worked as a professional musician, and in the last 4 years or so, I've had a few different busking licenses with groups, and we've performed Balkan and Middle Eastern music and sometimes music of Spanish Jews on the plaza. And we've always had a really positive response.